Hi, this is Suzanne Williams with Essential Oils, Health Matters, and Living the Wholesome Life. And today, if you've been following us, you know that we are working through Dr. Susan Lawton's book, which is the Positive Peaceful Growth Calendar that you can buy at Aroma Tools or Oil Life. So every day, Monday through Friday, we are hopping on and doing a positive affirmations shout out that we are working on the whole day. There's also affirmations that we're working on with the whole week, and diffuser blends, essential oil blends, music that we're listening to. Totally believe in music therapy. So this is just an amazing book. Go ahead, get your copy when you want to, when it's convenient, when you have the money, but you're going to love the book. You're going to love, love, love the book. This might be a book that you want to give to someone else for Christmas. Just a thought. Okay. The affirmation for today is, well, the affirmation for this week is, I am gentle with myself and others. And one of the songs that I paired with this was Gentle by Michael McLean. Now, the affirmation for today is, I am compassionate more than critical. I am compassionate more than critical. Are we sometimes critical? Do we sometimes say things in a hard way or with a harsh tone, or even with just harsh feelings inside, or difficult feelings, anxious feelings inside? When we're feeling anxious, sometimes it comes out when our speech comes out a little bit more harsh than we want to, a little bit more harsh than gentle, a little bit more harsh than compassionate. So we want to improve that, and that's what we're working on improving this week. So, as I was thinking through compassion, one of the things that kept coming over and over again as I'm thinking and as I'm listening to different talks on compassion is that sometimes we are not compassionate with ourselves or with others because we think if we lead with compassion, things won't change. And it's so funny how many things are different from the way we think. So basically, what science finds and what research finds and what we intuit, like most of us know, is that when people are compassionate with us, that's when we want to change. That's when we have the willpower to change. That's when we have the belief in ourselves to change. So as I'm thinking about this concept of which changes more, which allows us to change more, being compassionate or critical, which creates better atmospheres that we want to be in, being compassionate or critical, and which makes us feel better about ourselves at the end of the day if we were compassionate or if we were critical. You know what? Compassionate wins hands down every time. It just wins hands down every time. So I was listening to some songs about being gentle this week, and I came across this song by Dolly Parton, and it's called Love is Like a Butterfly. Now, we're going to definitely be posting that in our the comment section, and my son will hopefully post it onto this video as well. But it's this song that kind of tells us all that relationships are so fragile. So fragile. We want to be loved and we want others to love us. Okay, that we want to be loved and we want others to love us. I think that's the same concept. Anyway, we want others to love us, and others want to feel loved by us so much that any criticism can just feel like daggers to the soul. Okay? Not saying that we don't sometimes have to help say things to move people, hopefully to suggest that maybe people will want to move in a different direction. Definitely if we're a parent, we have the role and the responsibility of guiding our children in good paths, and we have the role and the responsibility to guide ourselves in good paths, right? But I really do think, and the research bears out, that if we lead with compassion, if we lead with love, if we come into it trying to create understanding, then things go better. Okay, so listen to that song, Love is Like a Butterfly, and just think of, I don't know, it just helps me remember that really inside we're kind of all, though we're strong and we're stalwart, in many ways we're like butterflies, and the littlest tiny thing can make a big difference in our life. Okay, so we're going to be talking about compassion today, and self-compassion and compassion to others. So let's just talk about compassion to others for a minute. So let's just say your friend has a problem. Now, one of my friends one of my friends that I love dearly, just barely had their dad die unexpectedly. He was old, he was probably like 87, so he was older, but she did not expect him to die on that day. He wasn't in ill health or anything like that. So, if that was your friend, what would you be doing? Would you be trying to love on them? Would you be communicating with them? Would you be praying for them? Would you know that that their life's going to be different for a while as they're working through everything that needs to be worked out with the funeral, and working through all their emotions that they had, the loss of someone that they love, maybe. Anyway, so we know how to be compassionate to others, right? Like when we're compassionate to others, we like let them tell their story. Like, tell me what's going on. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that happened. Tell me more. We let people tell their stories, and then we don't shame people. Like, we don't shame people in how they feel. Who would shame a friend for being sad when their dad died? Like, no one. Being sad when your dad dies is a completely natural experience. And honestly, so is being sad when you're feeling ignored by someone. It's natural to feel sad. And it's natural to feel sad if you're really trying to get work on a goal and you're just not getting there. You come up with obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. It's natural to feel frustrated. So can we just let ourselves be human for a little bit? And can we just, when other people are going through hard things, can we just sit there in the moment and say, tell me more? And can we just say, oh my goodness, that would be so hard. Because so many of the things that we deal with every day are hard. Like, there's beautiful things and there's wonderful things. I mean, are we not all grateful for the gift of life? We are, because life is wonderful. But life can be hard and challenging in many ways. And can we just sit for a minute and just sit in that hardness? I know if I'm telling one of my friends, like oh my goodness, this happened to me, and someone says, oh, that is so hard, and I'm like, like, you feel my soul, you feel my heart, you connect. And that's what compassion is. It's feeling someone's emotions. Now, okay, so the first thing when we're going to be compassionate is we're going to find out more, like, oh my gosh, what happened? And then we're just going to acknowledge how hard the situation is, right? Oh, you know what? Your boyfriend just dumped you. That is a super, super hard thing to be going through, right? Or you just failed a college class. That's a super hard thing. Can we just sit in the compassion for a minute? Okay, so we're going to find out more. We're going to sit in the compassion. And then the third thing about compassion, where compassion is different from sympathy, is sympathy does those first two things. Caleb, hurry, plug in my phone because it's about to die. Anyway, sympathy does those first two things. Thank you, Caleb. And then compassion takes it a step farther. They do something. Compassion does something for people. Okay, just making sure that's plugged in. Yes, it is. Okay, so now that's how we're compassionate to other people. But we can be compassionate to ourselves too, right? And we can sit with those same three things. We can explore what's going on, like, oh my gosh, maybe something happens and you find yourself tense, or you find yourself, anxious or sad or hurt. Like, when you find yourself feeling those difficult emotions, let's not run away from them, right? let's not be a runner away from emotions. Let's sit there and say, oh wow, I have this negative emotion that's going on, and let's how did it come? Let's explore this. Where did I get this? Where did it come from? Is this the only thing that's feeding into this? What other things in my life, what other experiences or whatever are filling into why I'm feeling this way? Am I hungry? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I getting proper nutrition? Am I being hit with a lot right now? Let's explore the different things that can be feeding into our state of being. And then let's just sit for a minute and just say, wow, you know what? That is really hard. That is really, really hard. And then let's talk ourselves through it, just like we would be talking through anyone else. We have someone else that's going on through something, hard. We're talking them through it. I mean, I want us to, the first thing that comes to my mind without having 9 children is when you have a birth coach, like whether it's your husband or whether it's a doula or whoever, or maybe it's yourself, you're just talking yourself through each of those contractions. And when those contractions come, you acknowledge them, right? You're like, okay, here comes another one. We're not running away. We're not pretending those contractions aren't happening, right? And then we're talking, I got this, right? Got this. Yeah, I'm relaxed. I'm in my zone. I can handle this. It's just going to be for a short time. We're talking ourselves through our contractions. And at the end, we're like, oh, you know what? When we're done, one step closer to birth, right? So we're talking ourselves through the hard things when we're going through labor. Labor is not easy for very many people. If it's easy for you, hallelujah to you and blessings on you. But labor can be a hard thing, and life can be a very, very hard thing with so many different things that we need to go through. So let's become the experts. Let's become our best friends. Let's become our cheerleaders, our coaches, our guides, whatever you want to call us. Let's become the people who talk us through the hard things in life. There's that saying, you know what? I have a perfect track record of getting through every day so far. And I'm going to get through this one too, right? And just saying, if you're watching this video, you have a perfect track record of getting through every single day so far. And honey, you got this too. You do. Gonna cry on that one. Anyway, so, sitting with our compassion, we're acknowledging the hard things that are going on in our life. We're exploring it. We're taking time to sit there and to grieve with ourselves and with others when hard things go on. I think Christ says that we should mourn with those who mourn and weep with those who weep. And we should do that for ourselves. When we're in mourning, let ourselves be in mourning. Let ourselves grieve over some loss. It's by grieving over the losses that we can finally let go of them. Okay? So, being compassionate, doing those 3 things of compassion, and then getting up, and then getting moving, and then doing something to help us feel better. Okay, so as I'm studying compassion, and I came across a talk, and what it did was sometimes we need to grieve. Okay, there's a time for everything, right? Like the Bible says there's a time to live and a time to die and a time to weep and a time to rejoice, right? It probably says it in a little bit different way than that. But anyway, so there's a time to sit and be sad and just to allow ourselves the time to sit and be sad. And then there is a time to distract ourselves and to do something else. A lot of times, and to take a break. So, a lot of times what they're saying is if you have a negative emotion, if you can distract yourself for 2 minutes, let's say you are, I don't know, you're afraid that your husband is late from work, or let's say that you're afraid because someone's driving late at night, or whatever difficult emotion you're feeling, if you can distract yourself for 2 minutes, like maybe you read, maybe you go take a shower, maybe you go and do dishes for 2 minutes, maybe you do something, but if you can distract yourself for 2 minutes, what it does is it calms your brain and it gets you back. So like when we get into the fight or flight thing, we kind of get out of our frontal cortex. It kind of starts misfiring, and we get into our brain where we're not always acting the best way and not always talking the same way. So sometimes if we can distract ourselves from the negative emotions that we are feeling, we can calm our brain down, and then we can see things clearer, and we can do things in a way that we are more proud of when we look back on them. So John Gottman actually calls that term, I don't know if you've read John Gottman. He has written so much on marriage. Anyway, but he basically calls the term when we're just getting into that, kind of diving deep into that negative emotion, into the fear, into the sadness, into the hurt, into the whatever. Sometimes he calls that being flooded. And our brain doesn't sometimes work that very well when we're flooded. And so if we can distract ourselves into something else for even 2 minutes, we can calm our brain and we can start thinking better. When I read about that 2-minute rule, it really made me think of something else. And one of my friends was talking about when you have an urge, a temptation, okay? And she was talking about like food temptations. But basically what she was saying, that if you can just hold strong to your food goal, when you get those temptations for 2 minutes, holding strong for 2 minutes, most of the times those temptations pass. And so I'm just letting us all know that none of our emotions are there forever. Like when we're, okay, let's say that our mom dies or something like that. Or let's say our spouse divorces us or something, or we lose a job, whatever it is. And we just feel crushed. And we just think we're never getting over this, right? But we do. I'm just letting you know that even the hardest things that hit us in life, losing a child, whatever it is, life can get better. So emotions don't come to stay, and temptations don't come to stay, and bad thoughts about ourselves don't come to stay. We have choices in what we do. Okay, so wanted to talk about that in self-compassion. Now, some people again might think that self-compassion is not good because you might become too stuck up on yourself. We might think too much of yourself, like, oh my goodness, we don't want you thinking too much of yourself. Then what are you going to do? And what they find is that the more highly you think of yourself and the more compassionate you are with yourself, the more compassionate you are with others. If you are super critical of yourself, chances are you're going to be super critical with everyone else in your circles. Even if it's not coming out of your mouth, if you're super critical with yourself, you're going to probably be thinking things, even if you're not saying things, and people are going to feel your energy. So if you want to be compassionate to others, if you want to, love on others, you've got to love on yourself. Okay, so, and just another quick tip on why compassion is really good, because it strengthens your immune system. And with all the gunk that's going on around right now, you want to have your strongest immune system that you can, and you want your family to have the strongest immune system that they can. So you want to be loving on them. You want to be compassionate. You want to lead with compassion even when you have to say the hard things. Okay, so I think that's enough about compassion right now. We are moving on. As you know, every single week we diffuse. We have a diffuser blend that goes along, and as we're talking about being gentle with ourselves for the whole entire week and with others, we are diffusing 2 drops of wild orange, which is the oil of abundance, and 2 drops of Cypress, which is the oil of motion and flow, and 2 drops of Basil, which is the oil of renewal. And that is just a beautiful, beautiful blend. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about Cypress today. So the first thing you need to know is that cypress is a tree oil, and you probably know that already, that cypress is a tree, but there's just some things about this tree that I did not know. So did you know that the average cypress tree grows to be, oh my goodness, I thought, 30 meters high. So like what, that's 900 feet. Anyway, and, or whatever it is, I don't know. 300 meters, hun. Caleb, can you figure that one out? Anyway, and, not 300 meters, 30 meters. 30 meters high. Okay, and then the average cypress grows, like it gets taller for 200 years. And the average cypress lives for 600 years, although many varieties live for over 1,000 years. Now, this I thought, oh my gracious, like a tree living for over 1,000 years. I guess I'm not. I just think anything that lives like over 100 years is amazing, right? But 600 years, wow. Anyway, so I actually did some more. I had to like dig into this fact a little bit, and I found that the oldest cypress tree that they found so far is 2,624 years old, and it's in North Carolina. I wanted to get my Carolinas right. It's in North Carolina, and it's actually the longest living tree in Eastern America. So I had to look up, well, what's the longest living tree in Northern America? And what I found is that of the five longest living trees in all of North America, two are firs, and two are giant sequoias, and most of them live in California. One of them lived in Nevada. Anyway, and if you're like super unscientific and you're like, well, how can I even judge the age of a tree? I think that most of us learn that in school, that they count the rings of the tree to see how many rings a tree has, and that kind of helps to say the age of a tree. Anyway, okay, so cypress, it lives super long and it grows super tall. And one thing you need to know about trees, all tree oils are grounding. They are stabilizing. They will stabilize you. They will help stabilize your mood. If you suffer with anxiety, tree oils are amazing. The frankincense, the cypress, the fir, the pines and the firs are super, super good, and the spruces. Anyway, all super grounding oils. Okay, so what are the gifts of cypress? Well, I'm about to tell you. So cypress is the one thing I want you just to remember about cypress is it's the oil of motion and flow, and so which kind of means, well, it means two things. So it means that it's one of the gifts of cypress is that it's super good for change. So if you're trying to drop some old habits and create new ones, think cypress. If you've moved to a new school, we're about to have a new year. Cypress would be an amazing oil to be diffusing as the new year starts coming in a couple weeks. But it's a super good oil to diffuse right now because the old year is ending, and cypress is really good for the beginnings and the endings, because at the beginnings and the endings of so many different things, you can have tension and loss. Okay. And fear and anxiety over new things and things ending. Maybe things didn't go exactly as you wanted this year. Maybe you have a lot of goals that you're still trying to get done this year. Cypress can help with that. Cypress helps to get things moving, right? That's one of the gifts of cypress. But another gift of cypress is that it helps us when it comes to grieving, and it helps us when it comes to like heavy grieving. I meant to look this up, but I didn't, and I will post it in the comments later. Anyway, on which blends in doTERRA include cypress. I know that Aromatouch has cypress in it because it's so good to get circulation moving, and it's so good for pain. Okay, so cypress is okay. So let's go to how it's good for change first. So getting out of bad habits, and letting go of control. Oh, this is a big one. If you are the type of person who likes to push things, and sometimes I am that type of person, but if you're the type of person who likes to push things and to be in control of things, Cypress can help you let go of some of that and help you realize that, you know what, you don't have to be in control of everything. Other people can do things good too. Okay. And then the other thing is that Cypress can do, it can help us be more flexible, and it can help us know that if it can help us when we tend to be the push instead of the nurture. Okay. It can help us change that and to realize, you know what, nurturing will get me to the change I want. And when nurturing gets me to the change I want, it's going to stick. Whereas if I do the push, it's probably not going to stick, because when I stop pushing, the change is going to stop. But if I nurture the change into reality, then it's probably going to stick. And Cypress can help us get rid of the bad habit of being the push and help us get into the new habit of being the nurturer. Okay, and also, you know what? If you're trying to work on your nurturing, you got to add in myrrh, because myrrh is like the ultimate. Like when I think myrrh, I think, okay, best mother ever. You know, the nurturing mother. So when I want to be more nurturing, I definitely try to add myrrh into the things I'm doing. So if you're trying to stop being to be less of the push and be more nurturing, Cypress and myrrh would be a beautiful combination to diffuse. Okay, so the other thing that Cypress can help us do is it can help us let go of negative things that have happened in the past, negative emotions. It can help us when we are grieving heavily. It can help us, hold on, I wanted to say this because it was so good, the way I saw it somewhere. Oh, it helps us to release the deeply stored pain. Okay, so just saying, if you're one of those people who don't practice good emotional hygiene, which means that if you're the type of person who tends to have negative things happen in their life and you don't like to deal with them and you don't even like to look at them, and you kind of like are the person who just stuffs them under the rug, right? Or you're the fish in the fish tank and bad things happen to you and you never clean out the tank. Your tank just gets poopier and poopier and poopier, right? Again, if you're the type of person who does not like looking at things, you don't practice good emotional hygiene, chances are you're going to have a whole lot of pain stored up in your body. Now, I know, okay, I'm going to lead with compassion on this. I know it is super hard when you're sad to want to look at why you're sad. And I know that it's super hard when you're anxious to want to look at all the things that might be feeding into that anxiety. And I know that when someone has hurt you, it can be super hard to want to look at that and to address it. Okay? I know that. So practicing good emotional hygiene can be difficult. It can be hard. It can be hard. Okay, I'm just going to say that one. But it's worth it. It's worth it because feelings buried inside you. There's one of my favorite books, and it's titled Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. They don't go away. They don't go away. You always have that memory until you deal with it. You always have that emotion until you deal with it. Anyway, so just dealing with emotions can be really good, and Cypress can help us. It can help us work through grief and sadness and pain and frustration. You name the difficult emotion that you're struggling with. My best guess is that Cypress can help us in the grieving process and to get over it. Okay, so one of the gifts of Cypress is it helps with change. The other gift of Cypress is it helps us release things. So when you're thinking of Cypress, I really want you to think of those two things. Okay, well, I think that I've said basically everything that I wanted to say about compassion and about Cypress. There's one thing I wanted to say really quick about compassion that I forgot to say, and that's this. When you get angry, or when a lot of people get angry, our brain tells us that if we don't do something right now, things are going to get worse. Things are going to get worse, that we just need to do something right now. And I'm just going to tell you from experience and from studies that if you are angry right now, now's probably not the best time to do something, right? You have to have compassion on yourself. You have to work through your anger and then do something, leading with love, leading with compassion, changing things. Like let anger be your push if you want it to be your push. Anger can definitely get us up and doing things, right? But let's not do things in anger. Let's let anger help us to think of what's going on in my life that I'm angry about. What needs changing? What do I need to change in me? What do I need to change in my environment so that this doesn't happen again? Like, do I need to set certain boundaries, right? But let's do it not when we're angry. Let's let anger help us to come up with the ideas, right? Push us to, we need to change this, but let's not do it until we can lead through a place of love. Okay, I think that's everything that I wanted to say today on Cypress. Tomorrow we're going to be going into the emotional qualities of Basil, and I think you're going to really like tomorrow's affirmation. But just reminding you today that today we are concentrating on leading with compassion, being more compassionate than critical. And you have to be way more compassionate than critical in order to even have a balance. John Gottman was saying that it takes five like positive comments and loving touches or loving on someone to balance out one criticism. So you know what? Sometimes if you have to say something that a person may take as criticism, make sure you're showering on a love, right? Okay, that's everything I want to say. So just remind you that today we are diffusing 2 drops of wild orange, which is the oil of abundance, 2 drops of Cypress, which is the oil of motion and flow, 2 drops of Basil, which is the oil of renewal. We are listening to whatever song you love when it comes to being compassionate and gentle with yourself. My 2 favorite songs on this one today are Gentle by, oh my goodness, McLean. Anyway, and then Love is Like a Butterfly by Dolly Parton. I think you're going to really love that song. Just reminding you to be more compassionate with yourself than critical, more compassionate with other people than critical, and reminding you to be gentle with yourself and others. I know you can do it. I know we can change. I know we can change to be the people that we feel super good about when we go to bed. I know we can do it. Okay, have a great day. Bye-bye.